Let me first start by thanking the UN colleagues for giving us this space today. I'm Dylan Winder, the permanent observer of the International Federation of Red Cross Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, here at the UN. Today with me, I have His Excellency Dr. Younis Al-Khatib, President of the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, and Mr. Marwan Jilani, Vice President of the Palestine Red Crescent Society. We're here to speak about the humanitarian situation in Palestine and the heartbreaking and shocking event of 15 humanitarian workers who were killed in Gaza, including 8 colleagues of the PRCS. We are calling also for the information about the 9th colleague of PRCS who is still missing and obviously his safe return. We want to know where he is. We want to have him back with his PRCS colleagues and his family. I'm sure you all know the event I'm referring to, and PRCS leadership will go into the details. Let me reiterate what we said on Sunday. The IFRC is outraged at the deaths of 8 medics from the Palestinian Red Crescent Society killed on duty in Gaza. As our Secretary General, Jagan Chapagan, said, these dedicated ambulance workers were responding to wounded people. They were humanitarians. They wore emblems that should have been protected. Their ambulances were clearly marked, and they should have returned to the families. They did not. Even in the most complex conflict zones, there are rules. These rules of international humanitarian law could not be clearer. Civilians must be protected. Humanitarians must be protected. Health services must be protected. This devastating incident represents the single most deadly attack on Red Cross Red Crescent workers anywhere in the world since 2017. Last year, 2024, a record 379 humanitarians are known to have been killed, of whom more than 90% were local staff and volunteers. 32 of them were members of our Red Cross Red Crescent Societies. Of these, 18 were from the Palestine Red Crescent Society, and a further 8 were killed whilst working in Sudan. As for this year, it's looking worse. We stand with PRCS and the loved ones of those killed in this darkest of days. The IFRC's message is clear. Violence against humanitarian workers must stop. Even one life lost is far too many. Our network is in mourning, but this is not enough. Instead of another call on all parties to protect and respect humanitarians and civilians, we pose a question. When will this stop? All parties must stop the killing, and all humanitarians must be protected. Now, I will pass over to His Excellency Dr. Younis Al-Khatib, President of the Palestinian Red Crescent Society, and then I'll turn to you for questions. Please could you also say your name and affiliation when asking, because I'm relatively new, so I won't know who you are. Over to you, Dr. Younis.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you for welcoming me in UN for the first time. This is my first press briefing in this building. It comes with difficult times, not just for us as Palestinian Red Crescent Society, but also for the Palestinians in general, and I think even beyond that. I'm not a man of history. I don't read a lot of history, but I think sometimes we have to remind ourselves that Gaza is a city 4,500 years old. Gaza is a city that houses one of the eldest mosques in Islam. It houses the 3rd eldest church in our world. It's pity that such a cultured city is treated like this, not just by Israel, but by all of us, by the international community as a whole. Yes, we came here with the breaking news last Sunday of the killing of 15 paramedics, humanitarian aiders. 8 of them are PRCS, 6 civil defense, and 1 UN officer, and 1 missing PRCS member. So it was our duty to talk about that. It was our responsibility, me and Marwan, to brief this building that represents our international community through the missions, through the Security Council, through everybody we have met in the Secretariat about what is happening to our team. Last Sunday, a PRCS mission coordinated and accompanied by the UN OCHA uncovered a mass grave where 15 first responders, including 8 members of Palestinian Red Crescent, paramedics, 6 members of the civil defense, and the United Nations officer, were killed and buried. You've already heard that news. They were killed while on mission to save lives, following reports of civilian casualties in the area of Tall Sultan and Rafah. Since the atrocities, the war restarted nearly a month ago. We have seen vicious attacks against civilians. The story never ends, but Palestinians should not be turned into numbers. 2 days ago, a whole family, 17 members of Sharif family in Khan Younis were killed. Beit al-Arqam school was attacked. Shelter houses are being attacked. 31 people were killed. When will this end? When we will regain ceasefire in Gaza? By the way, situation in the West Bank is not any better. And it's getting there day after day. It's getting worse day after day. In our briefings here, we were privileged also to be able to talk and brief the Security Council yesterday. And we have addressed certain demands to the Security Council, hoping that somebody will listen to those demands. I will read the following points. 1, we urge the Council to support the call for an independent and thorough investigation of this atrocious crime and hold those responsible to account. 2, we call on the Council, individually and collectively, and we mean it individually more than collectively, to take action to ensure respect for international humanitarian law. 3, enforce existing mechanisms and tools at the disposal of member states to ensure protection of humanitarian and aid workers and end impunity. 4, we call on the Security Council and on the whole international community to spare no effort to return the ceasefire and to the end of violence immediately. 5, we call for the immediate resumption of aid delivery and the opening of border crossings. We call the international community to achieve justice for the soul of those humanitarian workers. They are not the last, they are not the first, but more and more Red Crossers, Red Crescent people are being targeted throughout the world. This is an emblem that needs to be protected or should be protected. but it is not. We had broken records of the largest number of aiders being targeted in Palestine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Younis. Yes, please.
Thank you very much on behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association for doing this briefing. My name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. A couple of follow-ups on the events of March 23rd and the discovery of the 15 bodies. Can you tell us if there's been any follow-up to your calls for an investigation? That is, do you expect the UN, the Human Rights Council, to conduct an investigation on the ground? And can you give us any details on how the victims were killed and the condition of their bodies? Were any of them found with their hands bound? And is there a new forensic examination of the bodies being conducted, or is one going to take place? Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Well, this takes a process. We are still in the beginning. We are not the legal bodies that should address this. We are the victims, and we are the ones who are asking for justice. There are enough mechanisms in this international system that can really take this seriously. Yesterday we have asked for this investigation. We have asked for an independent investigation to be conducted, and we'll pursue that. And I hope that our respected components of our international system will take up responsibility. Enough is enough. These are not the first PRCS people that has been targeted and killed. Yes, we have some information about the conditions of the body. Yes, there is a forensic and autopsy conducted on the bodies. It's in the process. There will be a report coming out, hopefully. The bodies have been targeted from a very close range. Sorry, but it's not easy talking about my colleagues, my sons, my kids. But this early morning, this is something I think I can give out, because we will discover a lot of information. We will release a lot of information in the coming days to come. Something I can release, I heard the voice of one of those kids. I heard the voice of one of those team members who was killed, and his phone was found with his body, and he recorded the whole event. His last words before being shot: "Forgive me, Mom. I just wanted to help people. I wanted to save lives." And then he was killed. So you can imagine the 15 team members, what did they go through? It was an episode that's heartbreaking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Could I ask one quick follow-up? You have one member of the Red Crescent who is missing. Have you received any information at all about where he might be?
Yes. Let me be clear about that. There has to be accountability to those who did this. For 8 days, we have been begging the Israelis for information about that, the whole team. They knew exactly where they were because they killed them. But for 8 days, their colleagues were in agony, their family were in agony. Everybody that knew them were praying that they will be alive. They kept us for 8 days in the dark. Now, the only information we know that Assad is missing. But there's somebody who knows whether Assad has been killed somewhere else or Assad is detained in Israeli jails. We still have 3 of our colleagues detained in Israeli jails. But why to keep us in the dark? They know exactly where they are. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Younis. Next question. I should have said I'll go to the room first before online.
Thank you, Dr. Al-Khatib, and thank you, Jilani, for coming to talk to us. My name is Abdul Hamid Asyam. I represent the daily Al-Quds Al-Arabi at the United Nations. Sir, if you put these little pieces together, Israel had destroyed hospitals, destroyed universities, completely obliterated all schools, attacked families, attacked shelters, attacked bakeries, and they are attacking the West Bank. And there is no sign of halting the attack. They're continuing and killing on daily basis. Every minute we speak, there are some lives lost. Put this puzzle together. What is your reading about all these atrocities committed by a state that is made mockery of international law and the international community? Thank you.
Thank you. You know, maybe one of the undeclared objectives of this war is the destruction of the health system. And let me just talk about the health system and the humanitarian part of it. And also what proves that is what we see in Jenin and Tulkarem, what we see in Tubas and Tammun. There is this obsession about targeting the medical facilities. I'm sure the health system usually, in any civilian setting, helps people to survive or to steadfast or to be able to go on with their lives. When you are confident there is a medical facility that caters for you. But also to answer your question, I think, as I said it yesterday, I'm a person who was born after the Nakba, a few years after the Nakba of 1948. You feel what is happening now is a continuation to the Nakba. And the biggest Nakba we'll have in the West Bank. This is my own perception. what's happening in Gaza, it is declared. Sorry to say, it was declared by President Trump. Evacuation and displacement of civilians from Gaza outside. It was declared by Netanyahu, by the Israeli administration, all of them, the Minister of Defense, that they want to evacuate Gaza. So such actions have only one interpretation, is displacement. Now, would the international community allow that in front of their eyes? This is the question. The intentions of the Israeli government has not been hidden. They are declaring them. They are so clear, blunt, and declaring. Their action is also clear. Attacking an UNRWA clinic, which is a shelter for displaced population, and killing 19 civilians, 9 of them are children. In no other conflict, children has been targeted the way in Gaza. The first 2 days, I think more than 300 children were killed in Gaza. All together, nobody knows the total numbers of people killed in Gaza. By the way, it's all estimates. They say 17,000 children were killed. So our role is to cater for these people. The role of politicians and the international community is to stop the genocide that takes place.
Question.
Hi, Dr. Younis. First and foremost, condolences to your colleagues that were murdered. My name is Gabriel Elizondo from Al Jazeera, the English language channel. 2 quick questions, and I'll turn over to more of my colleagues that I'm sure have more questions as well. One is, you spoke about the investigation that you are working on and some findings. Can you give us any sort of idea of when you expect that to be released? A matter of days, matter of weeks, just some sort of idea? And the second question is, can you just speak about the family members of your colleagues that were murdered? How are they dealing with this trauma now? Thank you.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think, as a journalist, I think you are interested in the facts, and you are interested in the information that will help to shed more light on this story. So what we have as a normal operation of an EMS, an emergency medical service in Gaza or the West Bank, is we have our colleagues who receive the call, our ambulances who go, and they remain in touch, in contact. So what we have is we have a timeline, exact timeline of all the ambulances that went to respond to reports of bombing in this location, in Tel Sultan, in Rafah area. Starting from 3:50, I think, 3:50 or 3:55 a.m. in the morning. The first ambulance went in and went out with one casualty. Then the second ambulance went, and the third ambulance went. Those who we lost contact with, and then the third, those who were targeted. So throughout this process, we have the recordings, we have the documented what our colleagues heard from those teams, including Edith, for example. The last words we heard from our colleague Assad Al-Nassasra, who is missing. He was with the dispatch, he was talking, and we could hear 2 things. One, we could hear the firing, and he was saying they are firing at us. And the second thing we could hear is a conversation or a talk in Hebrew between the US soldiers and the team, which means those people were alive, including Assad Al-Nassasra was alive at that moment, and then disappeared. So that is the first piece of evidence that we have, and we are putting together, and we are documenting all of this. The second piece, and it came at a time, unfortunately, that a permanent member of the Security Council repeated an Israeli claim through an IDF statement justifying the killing. We as PRCS, we are used to that. We have not only through this conflict, throughout the history of the occupation, have been faced with so many accusations that we have refuted every single accusation with evidence. Every time the IDF spokesperson comes out saying PRCS ambulance was transporting fighters, or PRCS ambulance had arms or anything, or was in a location that is not supposed to be, we came out immediately, especially during this crisis, and showed with evidence that these are false. And they immediately take it out, by the way. The same thing happened yesterday at the Security Council, and I am sure the Israeli representative statement had those words in his statement, but when he heard there was an evidence that was circulated the council members, he took them out. And that is the IDF statement that states that the vehicles were coming in without the lights and without the sirens. As the permanent representative finished his statement, we received the video from one of our cars that showed very clearly the cars, the vehicles of the ambulances had their lights on, the fire brigade truck had its lights on, and the sirens. You hear the sound. That's one thing we hear in this video. The second thing we hear is, we see before what we hear, they were going after the first ambulance. We see an ambulance standing on the side with doors open, and apparently what we can interpret from the video is our colleagues stopped and rushed to this car. Another person in the team was shouting after we hear the firing at them, it's a trap. He's shouting in the video, it's a kameen, it's a trap. This is all evident in the video. So this refutes the whole narrative of the Israeli, and as I said, it's not the first time. The other thing, which I think is also, it shouldn't be any surprise to anybody that they killed them, because when the UN mission went together with our team to uncover the bodies, the UN car was videoing, was taping the journey, and there is a live tape of 2 civilians being killed in front of the UN OCHA car, back in the head. This is live. This is a video coming from the UN car. So the intentions are clear. The disregard, whether to the civilians, which we have seen time and again, or disregard to the teams, is clear. So what we are doing now, we are putting all of this together, and we will come up. What we have one concern, and I hope you will understand that. And our colleagues were really hesitant yesterday to send the video. And we tried to do it without the email because we are afraid there will be retribution against our colleagues in Gaza. And that always happens. So we also taken into consideration the safety and security of our colleagues when we want to release whatever information we have. Thank you.
Just there will be more coming out. But we are not content with our investigation. We call for an independent investigation. The people should hear the truth out of this. Not just, there are two stories, like what the Israeli army tried to say 2 days ago and repeated by many Israeli officials. The lights are not on, they were suspicious, I don't know what. And some listen to some of those stories. No, we want a clear cut, and this is the responsibility of the international community, not our responsibility. But the more they talk, the more we will come out with evidences.
Thank you. Next question. Lady there with the glasses.
Hi, thanks very much. I'm Dulcie Leinbach from Pass Blue. Two top UN officials have called for an independent investigation. Antonio Guterres and Volker Turk, and you're calling for one as well. Israel said that they would do their own investigation. So what do you have in mind in terms of an independent investigation?
There are people who are more experts than us in this, and that is their role and their responsibility. I think that the world has the mechanisms to do so. We just have to pull out these mechanisms and say this is how we'll go about it. It's not, we will not be held present to words we might say because we are not the experts in that. I think the truth has to come out. What we are asking for is just the justice for our guys.
So you don't have anything specific in mind?
No, there are mechanisms.
Well, exactly, but they're...
Yes, sure.
Like Human Rights Commission, for example. They have their own...
I think, as Dr. Younis said, I think the mechanisms are at the disposal of member states, and they are part of the international system But from our point of view, as PRCS and also as Palestinians, I would say there are two things that are important. One is we have a history of so many incidents, so many investigations that have been blocked by the occupying power. So we have so many commissions of inquiries, we have so many resolutions, whether it is from the Commission on Human Rights or from other bodies of the United Nations. I think the scale of this crime should should oblige the international community to do more and not to accept that this would be another incident that goes in the files and be forgotten after a few days. That's one. Number two is every time Israel is cornered, they come up at the last minute, because if you review the timeline also of what the Israelis said, you will see the changing story. So they came first exactly, these were Hamas. The cars were entered in a suspicious way, without lights, and now they are changing. And to stop this pressure and this consensus that is being formed within the international community that is an atrocious crime, they're saying we will do our own investigation. What we can say to that is we have never seen an Israeli investigation that resulted in any accountability whatsoever. This is on record, this is a fact, and that I think should not be accepted. So that's what we can say as victims of these atrocious attacks on our teams. The rest is, as Dr. Younis said, is up to the member states to activate that.
Let me be very frank with you. As victims, yesterday we heard the right words from states member Security Council. The right words, the right statements, the right... We are looking for the deeds. We are looking for the action. We don't want to hear words. We don't want to hear even condolences. We have lost through this conflict more than 200, not this recent, but as Palestinian Red Crescent in the last 50 years, more than 220, I think, of our colleagues. We heard lots of condolences. We heard lots of nice words, statements. It's time for action. Thanks.
Thank you. Next question, please. Yes.
Hi, I'm Kyota Tanaka from for the Japanese newspaper Asahi Shimbun. I'm sorry about the incident, and I just want to clarify about the video that you talk about. Could you just explain why the video was being shot at the time of the incident?
Yeah, we do document at all times, especially when we are faced with whether it's a checkpoint, even if there were no firing. Our colleagues are trained to have their cameras on and to video when they approach a checkpoint in a normal, even sort of normal circumstances. So this is part of our documentation for us and of documenting the mission, because we know and we are faced not always with being targeted with a live fire, but our colleagues always, every day, face the beatings, the blocking their mission, staying at checkpoints for hours when patients even in a critical conditions. So they do document this, and the Israelis know that we document this. So it is a normal procedure. It was not. Yes, it is done specially because also they could see there is a danger and there are firing, but it's also a normal procedure.
And also, you haven't decided how, when, and if you're gonna release the video. But if you were to do it, would you have some idea of how you're gonna do it?
This is what the Security Council, what was shared with the Security Council is one short video. And again, I think, I don't know if you mentioned it, I think Dr. Younis may have mentioned it, but Dr. Raed mentioned it at the council. This was the phone of one of our EMS members, of the paramedics who was killed. So the phone was on his body, the phone was in his pockets or with him. That's why we retrieved that video. There is a longer video. As I said, we will look into. First of all, this is evidence, and we will deal with it as such. We will see how it will be used by competent authorities, but we will also take care of our colleagues. The safety and security of our colleagues is paramount in this case. So anything that would put not those who have been killed, but their families also. We are afraid, and we, of course, and they are concerned about their safety. So we will have all of this together, and then release.
Thank you, Marwan. Any more questions in the room? Are there any questions online?
I have a question.
Please.
Okay, thanks. Dawn Clancy with IPS News. Mr. Jilani, I just wanted to follow up on something you said, and you may have misspoke, but when you were talking about the video or the audio that you have, and there were soldiers speaking to one another that you could hear, um, you said that they were speaking Hebrew, but then you referred to them as U.S. soldiers. And I'm just wondering if if you spoke or if you're aware of there being U.S. soldiers there.
No. I am sorry if I said that. It's no. This must have. I don't know. It must have been. I don't even realize I said that. No. What I said, the conversation, and I was trying to find another word for conversation. Converse. They were conversing in Hebrew. Because a conversation is a normal thing, and I was trying to find another word. They were obviously they are Israeli soldiers. No. I am sorry. I'm very sorry if this was. They were not only conversing with each other, but they were also talking to our team, and most of our people speak Hebrew also, so they were talking in Hebrew together. No U.S. soldiers. This was I think a slip of the tongue. Thank you. Thank you for pointing this out.
One more question, please.
Yeah, one more question.
Okay, Abdul Hamid again. I mean, from your experience, the Israeli investigated the assassination of Shireen Abu Akleh and the burning of the Dawabsha family and the settlers who killed Mohammed Khufaga and poured fuel in his stomach and killed him, as you know. And they did the investigation. What can you share with us some of the results the Israeli reached with these investigations?
Simply, we can share nothing because we were not involved in these investigations. We were not informed even of it. We don't have any reports. They don't share reports with us. And this is why Marwan was very clear that this idea of the Israeli army investigating, I have a certain experience also in that respect. We don't trust any of the army investigations. And this is why we were very clear in saying that we need an independent inquiry into this, and not just the routine procedure to quit settlers who are shooting everywhere, and then the next day we find them also still walking freely, and Palestinians. I heard the story of the Palestinian filmmaker that won the Oscar, who has been, because also our ambulance was involved in, he was attacked in his house and he was beaten up. But he's the one who was jailed, and he is the one who had to pay the fine. And not the Israeli settlers who beaten him because he attacked the settlers. You attack me in my home and then you blame me. No, we don't trust such. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Younis, I think we had a question from Al Jazeera about families as well, which we answered. Families of the victims.
It is a very tough question. It's important to understand the whole environment in Gaza. So our colleagues live the same way as all the 2 million people in Gaza live. They live in shelters. They have scarce food and water resources, the same as everybody. We, at the beginning of the war, as any humanitarian organization, especially this is what we are trained for, we take care of our colleagues, and we try to provide shelter and to provide the necessities so that they go on to serve others and help others. We couldn't do that. I have many stories where even our colleagues are in a worse situation than the people. One of our senior managers in Gaza, one time I was asking him, and I know he has a chronically ill son, said, how is your family? And he was saying, yes, okay. I said, where are they? He said, I don't know, in the shelter. And the colleague next to him told him, I saw your daughter and her husband sleeping in the street. So the families of those who have been martyrs, and every single family in Gaza everybody lost somebody. And I can give you the names and numbers of people we have lost, not only our teams, but their families. And they live every day with this fear that they are going to be killed, that their children might even starve. On top of this is actually losing. Some of our colleagues, I think 4 or 5 are married with children. 3 are young, single volunteers. Their families must be devastated on top of everything that they have to face. I just can't imagine how they deal with it, but you can imagine the trauma, the psychological trauma of everybody in Gaza on a daily basis. And I cannot also, every time I talk to our colleagues in Gaza, I just don't understand how they continue to work. They unlike internationals, they have not had a 1 day of retrieve. There is no R&R. There is no going out and back in. There are no shelters in a sense of headquarters for they are living on the street. They are facing everything, and for almost 18 months, day in, day out. As we've seen in this video, they go out knowing that they risk their lives, and also they risk losing their families from bombardment. So it is a horrible situation for everybody in Gaza, and that's why we really hope and we see, call this it is unbelievable that the world cannot stop this after 18 months. And that's all we can say. But there are, just to say, there are also mechanisms. It's not enough, and it does not do much, but within our movement and within our national society, the Palestinian, to take care of the families, to help them as much as we can. We do have these mechanisms, but the condition must be horrible, must be just unimaginable.
Just last word. To see the rhythm in 1 week, a UN building was hit, an ICRC building was hit, and then the killing of our teams, and then the internationals. There is a call to cut down the numbers in Gaza. Gaza cannot be left alone. Gaza cannot be left alone. This is a cry to our international community. Thank you.
I'd like to thank very much my colleagues from the PRCS and also you for coming and showing interest. Thank you.